I am making some Indiana pork tenderloin, or if you're more familiar with it, it's pork Schnitzel. The Indiana pork tenderloin is basically pork Schnitzel. And pretty much everybody's ancestors in this state are like from Germany. So we love German food. And the lady at the grocery actually reminded me the other day because she told me this was on sale. Now, what they wanted me to buy was about twice as much, so about 10 pounds of pork tenderloin. So if you're from anywhere else, what I'm about to unwrap is called pork tenderloin. If you're in Indiana, the final product of what I make out of this is pork tenderloin. So it can be very confusing. But I'm basically just making pork schnitzel, and I can make it because my butcher cut a pork tenderloin in half for me so that I could afford it. Because this by itself was almost $14. And my table it's going to be challenging today because I only have so much table. There's mine. If you're wondering why I bought this, it was for the flat side. If you're ever going to pound meat, do not ever use that side. You will be so sorry you did. I have another one of these, and it's spiky on both sides. And once you use it a couple of times, you will never get those spikes clean. Not ever. Because that's what I've been fighting with my other one, is that I can't get it clean. So that is a problem, so I bought a new one with a flat side. So I always wash dishes twice. Once when I put them in the drainer and once when I'm about to use them. Alright, so for this 4.5 pounds of pork, I'm going to put on a pair of gloves because this is going to get nasty quick. I didn't even take my shower because I'm dealing with pork. What I want to do is make this pork and then take a shower. So I'm going to put on my cleaning, aka medical gloves that I got from the pharmacy the other day. And the reason I wash the gloves is because these are not food safe. These are medical. And I don't think they're sterile either. So I wash the gloves just like I would wash my hands, and then I dry the gloves off, and then I turn off the faucet with the paper towel. And these paper towels are for cleaning my bathroom later, but they're also for dealing with this pork. So this is 4.5 pounds of pork. And like always, there's a trash can over there. So I'm not dumping things on the floor, especially not pork wrapping. So I want to cut this. And it doesn't have to be real thin because you're going to pound it thin. Make my pork schnitzel. Alright, so there's one. And that looks just like a boneless pork chop, and because that's what it is. It's basically a boneless pork chop. And since I just saw a problem, I'm going to cut through the fat first. So basically, if you buy this, this is the same thing they make boneless pork chops out of. Except at my grocery, the boneless pork chops were $3.99 a pound, and this was $2.99 a pound, and what you have to do is cut it yourself. No big deal, right? So let's see how much of this I get. And you don't need to make these real thin because you are going to pound them real thin. And if you have a better knife than I do, it'll go a lot smoother. There's a piece of fat on this other side that's going to be a bit of a problem. Alright, so that was causing me issues, so I got rid of it. 1, 2, 3, 5. So I've got 5 pork chops here. So, you know, if I was just going to do pork chops and I had a family of 5, that's it right there. And I still have more than half of this pork loin to go. So you can think about it like that too. If you've got a big family, buying one of these is probably a lot better idea than buying individual pork chops. I forgot to do a whole bunch of stuff before I started doing this. My bowls for the egg and the milk and the flour that I was going to dip these in, they're still empty. Oops. So that means I'll have to change gloves, which I guess is not a terrible thing. And I have the freshest pork you could get. Like the guy took it out of the cooler and cut it in half for me right as I stood there. So this is very fresh pork loin. And of course, like all the meats I buy, I'm dealing with it today, immediately, just a few hours after I bought it. And the guy asked me if I wanted the white side or the dark side of the pork loin, and I chose the white side. And there was a difference between the color on each side of the pork loin. So, alright, how do I want to deal with this? I think I want to cut this fat off. Alright, so how do I want to deal with this? The question is, can I actually get it cut one more time? Probably butterfly it. Let's see if I can get it cut just one more time. There we go, I got it. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pieces of meat out of that 4.5 pound pork loin. Alright, so now I need to beat the tar out of it because we're not having pork chops necessarily. What I want to do is make schnitzel, but I might take these two and turn them into, well, some of these that look a little better I might do pork chops with. Maybe so, maybe so. Alright, so my bowls are not ready. I forgot to put the egg and the milk and the flour in my bowls. So I need to do that. So we're going to put some flour in a bowl, because the whole point with a pork schnitzel is that it's breaded. And for those of you who go, but I thought you were on a low carb diet. I am, but I can assure you that I am not eating unbreaded pork tenderloin. It is never going to happen. So we want to put the spices in. This is just a little salt and some pepper. And like I say, just put it in until you see it, till you think that's enough. And for a lot of pork schnitzel recipes that you'll see online, the salt and the pepper is where they stop. I happen to like mine a little bit more spicy, so I'm going to put some onion powder in here. And I'm going to put some garlic powder in here. And I think that's where I'm going to stop. So for my pork schnitzel, I put salt, pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder in it. And then you just want to mix it up a little bit. And if you can see the spices, you put enough in the flour. And I can't see them, so I'm going to add some more, especially pepper. Okay, pepper, and some more onion powder, I think. Remember, it doesn't have to be an exact science, just don't dump the whole bottle in there. So we want to be able to see the spices. Yeah, I can see the little peppers in there. Can you? Now next we want to put an egg in the bowl and some milk. So I need 1 egg, and I did not buy any eggs. I looked at the eggs today at the grocery and they were $5.99. My limit is $5.89, so I did not buy any eggs. But I still have 8, 10. I still have 11 eggs left, and I'm only going to put 1 egg in this. And you can be like, but Stacy, don't they usually put 2? Yeah, why do you? But you end up wasting so much of this liquid that they tell you to make for this stuff that it's kind of silly. I end up dumping more of the liquid than I use. So I'm only going to put 1 egg in that bowl. And then I'm going to put some of the milk I've got in there. And my milk actually expires, its best buy date is the 30th. So I don't feel bad about putting, maybe too much milk in here. But we want to try and crack this egg. This can be so difficult when you don't have a good way to crack it. Like my skillet isn't quite clean yet, so... Alright, there we go. That's the egg. You know what I haven't worked out yet? Where I'm going to put the schnitzels when they're done cooking. My thought was to put them on the tray, but I don't think that's going to work. Because that tray is going to be full of raw schnitzels. I may have a dish problem. That's why I usually don't do things that are this involved anymore. It can be challenging to figure out how to do it. We want a little milk in there. As you can tell, I've put some hurt on my milk. If this were just a regular half gallon, it'd be almost gone. So I need to wash this fork again and then stir up that mix. And then I'll show you what it looks like. And here's why I say cooking is not an exact science. Because I'm going to make, this is whole milk and egg for my schnitzel today. But you could use just egg. You could use just whole milk. You could use half and half. You could use heavy cream. You could use a mixture of, sour cream and maybe skim milk, if that's what you had. It's just not as exact as some of these guys want, you to believe. And I will show you what this looks like. It's a real pale yellow. So let's take a look. So here's my wet, here's my dry, here's my trash can, here's my pork. All right, and we're almost ready to start pounding. But my nose is acting up, so I'm going to blow that first. All right, if you blow your nose or touch anything, wash your hands. Okay, so it is pork pounding time. But here's the other thing. I want to get another pair of gloves. I guess I'm glad I got those gloves the other day because I did not foresee myself making pork schnitzel this weekend. It was on my mind, but it wasn't like a definite. There we go. So we're gonna get one of these plastic things, and that's another reason to have a flat side on your thing. If you use this and your meat's inside one of these, or even with parchment paper, you will pound holes in the plastic. And I've been meaning to buy one of those with a flat side for a very, very long time. But I wasn't planning on buying one with a flat side for $8.50. I was hoping to get one a little bit cheaper. Or at least if I was paying that much, a little bit better quality. You know, one that doesn't have, you know, a flawed flat end. I am putting on a new pair of gloves just for cleanliness purposes. Plus my hands are destroyed. I think it's this weird dish soap that I've been buying, but my hands are really taking a beating lately. And it's a little too early in the season for that, so. All right, I'm pretty much done with this knife, so I'm gonna get it out of my way. All right, I got that knife out of the way. So I am going to pound some pork, and I'm gonna pound some pork in a plastic bag because we don't want to make a huge mess doing this. And when you do it, you can seal your bag a little bit, but not all the way, because if you do that, you will be very unhappy with the results. So we're going to pound this pork with the flat side. The pork, and it's pretty flat, so we're going to set it over here, and then we're going to get another piece of pork and we're going to pound it real flat. And you just want to set it in your bag, kind of in the middle, and you want to take your flat side and pound that pork. And this is how big the pork is once you get done pounding it. Here's those two porks that were weird at the end. So here's the one, you know, pork, and here's the other one. Just to show you what the difference is in size. This one is twice as big as this one. It's killing my back. We're going to pound the pork. I think I'm going to leave 3 of these as pork chops. So I'm just going to pound 2 more, and then I'll have 3 pork chops for later. Or maybe 4. You know what? I'll do 4 pork chops. And then I'll just be pounding this one. So I got 4 boneless pork chops and a bunch of schnitzel. Alright, so the pork is pounded. And my hammer did pretty good. Alrighty, I can't use too much of that. I need to use more of these. All right, so let's see. You know what I'm gonna do? I am so clever. I am going to get one, rather than use 4 individual quart bags, I'm going to use 1 gallon bag, and I'm going to put these 4 pork chops in here, and I'm going to put them in the corners. Then I will lay them flat to freeze. So here they are. I'm going to lay these flat in the freezer to freeze, and then they won't stick together. Okie dokie, so that's done. Now I need to bread my schnitzel. This is where things are going to get interesting. I don't know how I want to do this. What I really need is 1 more plate. Like if I had a paper plate, that would work. I gotta think about this. Wipe this down with alcohol, or not alcohol, vinegar. Wipe that down with vinegar. Alright. I'm gonna use this foil, double it up, and I'm gonna put my ready to be fried pork tenderloins on here. Then I'll wash that tray and I'll put my finished pork tenderloins. So these gloves that I've been using are non-sterile. So I am right to be washing my hands while I'm wearing the gloves. Make sure that the gloves are clean. Touch the edge of the sink. I love having a Bam Bam sink. They're just so spectacular. Alright, so let me make sure you can see what I do. And yeah, pretty much. Alright, so here's what we want to do. I don't know if I need that fork or not, so it's just going to go right here. So here's what we want to do. We want to dip our pork in the wet stuff. And then dip it in the flour. And this isn't going to be as seamless as you would see most people do it, because my bowls are kind of small, unfortunately. So you want to make sure that your pork is covered in the flour. And sometimes they tell you to use breadcrumbs, and you certainly can. But I'm just going to use flour. You'll obviously make a huge mess. And here's why you wear gloves. And some people actually soak these, like they'll put them in a Tupperware container and they'll soak. So here's what we want these like for several hours in that egg and milk mixture. And you can do that too. If you're not quite ready to cook and you kind of want to set this up in the morning and maybe leave it while you're at work or working. And then, you know, do this part of it, you know, right before dinner. You can do that. I got 2 more of these left, so here's one. Wasn't sure I was going to have enough flour with all of it that tipped out. This is not a clean or neat process. So if you want something that's going to, you know, be neat, this ain't it. Well, I'm just barely don't have enough flour, I think. Yeah, I just barely don't have enough flour for that last one. So I think, you know, that is what it is. I think I'll just put that last one in a baggie and it'll be what it'll be. Because I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I made 6 of them. You know, it's not worth me trying to pour some more flour and then get another pair of gloves. And so I'm not going to do all that. I'll just call it done. Alrighty, so yeah, I'm not going to fight this one necessarily. It's got a little bit of flour on it. Maybe I'll thaw it later and do it by itself, or maybe I'll deep fry it or whatever. But I'm not going to fight that one. I'm doing a little bit of the dishes while I wait on this skillet. And then I've got to clean this up again. And the trick with this is making sure that your oil is hot. If it is not hot, you will end up with soggy breading. And normally you would say deep fry something like this. I'm going to shallow fry it, but I'm going to put, mostly because I just didn't buy enough oil to do any deep frying. I didn't buy enough oil to deep fry. Because this was already, you know, $4.50. I probably would have had to buy at least 2 of these containers to deep fry. And I've got a deep fryer, but that's not what I want to do. I just want to make sure the bottom of the pan is very coated with oil. So let's spin it around. I want to make sure that I got quite a bit of oil in that pan. And no, I have not had time to clean up the stove. The time I had to do it was the time that I tried to do it, and that time has passed. Alright, so the one thing you never do is you never leave grease on the stove by itself. Somebody just about burned down a house doing that a couple years ago. It was a brand new house too. They put a pot of oil or grease or something on the stove and forgot about it. So don't do that. And like I said, I'm doing this in coconut oil. Coconut oil. Normally I would use organic coconut oil, but I don't have access to that right at the moment. And the other benefit to doing all that down there is that all of that raw meat is down there. All of that raw meat mess is down there. So up here is going to be the cooked meat. And I need to wipe this counter off now that I'm thinking about it. So I need to get this done. While that oil is heating up, I need to go ahead and wipe off this counter. So I'll do that while I'm waiting on the that oil to heat up. Just clean this up a little bit. Alright, well, at least I'm happy that it's only like 11:30. I had a feeling it was going to be like 1 o'clock. So this is done. And you might be wondering, well, how are you going to, you know, do your thing? Well, I got a spatula right there. Right. So I'm going to use a fork and a spatula to turn this over. If you have tongs, that would be easier. My tongs are used for pushing the drain thing back in the hole. It just keeps popping. I can't stand garbage disposal. I don't know if I'm ever going to own a house with a garbage disposal ever again. Alright, let's see what it looks like. There. So you might be wondering, did I actually save any money on this pork? When it's all said and done, probably not. If you already had the oil to cook it in, if you already have the mallet, if you already have all the spices and don't need extra pepper, then probably it's a good deal. Because I needed an $8.50 mallet, $1 pepper, and the $4.50 oil, it probably wasn't the cheapest thing I could have bought. But then again, a six pack of fried chicken fried steaks is about $10, and there's only 6 in there. So I spent 8 and 5 is 13, 14, 24. We'll say I spent $27 on this and got one. Well, we know there's 5 in the freezer. 5, 6, 11. I got 11 pieces for $26. And had I bought the chicken fried steak, I would have gotten 12 pieces for $20. Although you can argue that these are thicker and bigger and way more delicious. Because these are about twice as thick as the ones you get in the package. So, yeah, it looks okay. Smells good. Smells good. I'll give you a close-up here in a minute. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'm not happy with the amount of flour that's on these, so here's my first little schnitzel. Doesn't that look tasty? It's not quite as much breading on that as I wanted, so I added more flour over here. And here's one where I put some more flour on it. How much flour is this? I think this is just 1 little pound of flour. I'm looking. Oh, nope, it's 2 pounds of flour. So I got 2 pounds of flour for about $1.35. You could probably make 2 loaves of bread out of that if you wanted to. This one barely fits in the pan. So like everything else I make, the fried porks will go in a plastic bag and then in the freezer. This is the last pork chop that's cooking now. It is almost 12:30. So I am just about done. It is 12:37. I have a bunch of other stuff I need to do before I can even eat lunch. But this is finally done. Breaded pork chop, and my breading never really turns out all that great. My phone cut off right at the end of this video. Here's my pork tenderloin or schnitzel, depending on how you want to put it, with a little bit of that honey mustard dressing. This was absolutely delicious. All right, that's it for this video. If you are so motivated, like and subscribe. Otherwise, I will talk to you later. Have a great night.